rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President. We have a roll call, please.
Yes. Mrs. Byrne?
Present.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Here.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Here.
Mr. Nola?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mr. Ritter?
Here.
Mr. Steubenbort?
Here.
Mrs. Warning?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. President,
Yes.
do you think it would be appropriate for us to stand in a moment of silence for the victims of the Las Vegas?
Have a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments from residents on agenda item. Anybody sign up to speak or anybody wish to speak on agenda items? Seeing none. Section B, bills and financial reports. Shot.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. The financial reports consisting of Section B1 list of bills for October 2017, Section B2 monthly financial statements for September 2017, and Section B3 budget transfers for October 2017 will all be presented at the regular board meeting.
Thank you. Questions or comments from Mr. Schott? Seeing none. Section C. Nothing?
Nothing.
Section D, personnel agenda. Trish.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda. Item 1 is listed in Section D for the study session meeting. For under leave of absences, we will be pulling that, so we will not be voting on that this evening. We are recommending employment, though, for 2 special education aides, a school police, and a substitute custodian to be voted on this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nola, second by Mr. Steubenford. Questions or comments?
How many police officers does that take us up to now?
12.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, one?
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. Nola?
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Steubenbort?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne?
Aye.
Thank you. Under Section D for October 17th, we have 2 resignations listed, a leave of absence, 1 transfer for the collective bargaining agreement. We have employment. Also, we're designating our after-school teachers. Currently, we have 6 who will be working in 2 separate buildings, supplemental contracts, and volunteers.
Questions or comments on that part of Section D? Moving forward, Section E, conference and conventions, we have none. Section F, administrative resolutions. Mr. Short.
Under item number 1 for consideration of the board, we have approval of district donation. This is from the Allegheny County Sheriff's Office. There are 18 Model X26 tasers. One of our police officers, Tim Skoog, was able to make contact with Allegheny County. They are in the process of receiving new equipment and are offering for a donation of the tasers for the use of the Gateway School District at extracurricular events.
Questions or comments on that?
Has there been a need in the past for tasers or desire to have tasers at a sporting event?
The Monroeville police officers who have attended events not only carry a personal firearm but also tasers in the past. In a situation that may prevent deadly force from being used, tasers can be used.
But I mean, in the past, has anyone used a taser in one of our sporting events?
Not at all, no.
I can add a little bit to this too, Steph. Our initial police budget did include $9,000 to purchase 9 tasers. It's always good for a police officer to have a non-lethal option, and especially in a crowd setting. All of the previous SROs carried tasers. All of the Pennsylvania police officers standard issue carry tasers. It's just another piece of their equipment. The only reason that we put off the purchase last fall when we established the police force was because Officer Skoog did come from the sheriff's office, and he knew that they were getting new ones, so he actually started this ball rolling. So we didn't want to go spend $9,000 if we knew we could save the taxpayer money and try to get the donation. So he has been working with them pretty much since last spring to try to save us $9,000. And in addition to tasers, they come with the rechargeable cartridges and batteries and accessories too. So it's not anything that no other police officer in the state of Pennsylvania carries. In fact, it's probably even been suggested to me that it's a liability we don't have a non-lethal option. That makes sense without going into too much more detail.
Is this just going to be for sporting events?
I don't think so. I think we hired a police force to determine where they best need to use them. So I'm not going to say whether I would dictate to our police chief how he sees fit to carry his equipment.
I think we should defer to the police chief as well.
I think, yes, the superintendent and police chief should figure it out.
Once we receive those tasers, of course, I would meet with Chief Key, have a determination conversation of where they will be used, and report back to the board for an appropriate vote.
I think the need was really felt, the absence of them was felt at sporting events because it's such a crowd-like situation that if you had some type of attack going on or something and you don't want to fire a firearm into a crowd, that it gives you an option. So I think that's where the football discussion came up, because that's a place where there's a need, but that doesn't mean there's never a need for an officer to have a non-lethal option. I mean, it's always a good option for any officer to have versus having to pull out a firearm.
And I would also note that I attended an open house in the neighboring school district, and they have their own police force similar to ours, and they both carried a firearm and a taser. So I just wanted that information relayed out.
I think George has a comment.
Oh, sorry, George.
Mary.
Yes, sir.
Do our police officers carry mace?
I don't
No.
think they do.
Don't they? Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Bill.
Item number 2, Dr. Shaky.
Item number 2, we have a college and high school opportunity through Seton Hill University. Students enrolled in AP Chemistry can earn 4 credits per semester, or 8 credits for the year-long course. The urgency is here because students must be enrolled by October 15th in order to participate in the program.
And these are action items because
Questions or comments on that?
So moved.
okay.
Moved by Mr. Nola, second by Mr. Davenport. Questions or comments? Last time?
I just want to make a comment. So the college and high school, I know this is one of a plethora of different schools that we have, so I just want the public to be aware. I know when I was in school, I got, for geology, I got 4 credits through Pompa's class. So this is a great opportunity for students to get some of their gen ed credits out of the way. And I think Gateway has done a fabulous job of reaching out. We have Pitt coming in, we have Seton Hill, we have Duquesne, we have IUP, we have just a plethora of different schools around the area. And I know some students much smarter than I when they left Gateway had, over 20 credits.
Amazing how many credits they can accumulate.
Leaving high school. So I just want to say kudos to all of our teachers that are looking at this, all of our superintendents, assistant superintendents for giving our students such great options.
Yeah, thank you, Chad.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh, one more. I also just wanted to thank Officer Skoog and Sheriff Bill Mullen for gracefully giving us 18 tasers. That's a huge cost savings for the district and definitely good for the officers. I know in speaking with some of the officers, they wanted to have all the tools of the trade, so I'm glad we're able to do this while being mindful of taxpayers as well.
Any other questions or comments? Bonnie, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbort.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne. Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Motion carries. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Administrative resolutions for review. Tonight we have items 1, 2, and 3. Dr. Rossi, could you take those, please?
First one is a 30-day public display for revised policy 246, student wellness. Number 2 is affiliation agreement for student teaching with Clarion University. And 3 is a grant I've received from the Carnegie Science Center for for an amount of $2,000, essentially used for field trip costs, admission at the Science Center for the entire building at Evergreen.
Thank you. Item number 4, and I'll start with item number 4. We have a number of facility agreements on a study session tonight, and they are depicted, the Gateway Winter Guard, American Cancer Society event, the Premier Performance Art Rehearsal, and another Premier Performance Art Dance Recital. Item number 5, recognition of district booster clubs and support organizations for the 17-18 school year. As per our policy, we do send out letters of notification to all of our booster organizations requiring that they submit the appropriate documentation for officers and follow-up for audits at the end of the year. We have received those, or that information back from those groups. Item number 6, approval of electrician and hourly rates. I'm going to defer to Mr. Schott for the following items.
For installation of the new energy-efficient internal building light fixtures during the 17-18 fiscal year at the various labor rates as depicted in Exhibit D. Next item number 7, is to approve the credit change order in the amount of $2,070 with Merit Electrical Group Incorporated during the 17-18 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit E. Number 8 is to approve the structural engineering professional service fees with Civil and Environmental Consultants Incorporated for the analysis of retaining wall remediation in front of the high school stadium bleachers as a future capital repair and improvement project to be completed during the 18-19 fiscal year in the total amount of $19,120, and that is depicted in Exhibit F. Item number 9 is to approve the acceptance and expenditure per the AIU Transition Memorandum of Understanding for a $700 kindergarten transition grant received by the district passed through the Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3 in partnership with the Pittsburgh Association for the Education of Young Children and the United Way of Southwest PA for the 17-18 fiscal year, and that's depicted in Exhibit G.
Questions or comments on any of the above?
Questions on number 5? Are we going to notify, I know there's a few PTO groups missing from that list, are we going to notify just to make sure that they have everything?
Yes, we're going to continue to follow through with a number of organizations that haven't complied yet.
Okay, thank you.
Why are we charging Gateway Winter Guard, not Gateway? Under the facility agreements,
Under item number 4.
item 4, what is that?
Gateway High School Sports Complex, number of attending, $1,200 for the Winter Guard.
Do we normally?
Mr. Brown, can you step up to the microphone, please? Thank you, sir.
That is a charge for additional custodial staff and cleanup staff to cover that event. It's a pretty big event.
Pretty
for
big
them.
event show, yeah.
It takes a lot of manpower to man it, plus clean up after it. So that's what that is.
Okay.
Any other questions on Section F? Section G, any resolutions presented by board members this evening? No. Comments from residents on non-agenda items. Anybody in the audience wish to address the board at this time on non-agenda items? Richard? Superintendent's report, Mr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I do have one action item that I would like to bring forward, and that would be the affirmation of disposal of some fixed assets that computers have been sold to our faculty, our residents, and also our students that have been replaced via purchase of new Macs and iPads from the 17-18 school budget. We have completed the sale of those items, and I'm just seeking affirmation of a vote to move forward and to acknowledge that.
Second.
Question.
Moved by Mr. O'Donnell, second by Mr. Nola. Questions, comments?
In May or June, this was brought up, and I remember I had discussed it, and Steve had agreed and kind of talked about it as well. We had discussed, why we're selling these computers to the teachers, and the reason the teachers are able to buy them is because they got new laptops this year. And we had discussed looking for a way to get them into the hands of students that need them or families that need them within the district. And I know, at that last meeting, it was said we'll look into what options are available, because we had discussed even doing a monthly payment option. So someone might not be able to afford a $2,000 laptop or the sale price of $500, but they might be able to do $50 a month. We're working on this one-to-one initiative within the district, and I feel as though we kind of dropped the ball there. I know some of the teachers had posted on Facebook and other areas that they were selling a laptop. So can I just need clarification as to where the ball was dropped, why we didn't actually go down that path.
Yeah, if we could have Mr. Brown step in here. We have had a number of laptops that have been turned in, percentage-wise of Macs versus the Lenovo's, and if you can go down the discussions that were also included within our board packets as well.
Yeah, so all the teachers who have had a Lenovo or Mac laptop from the cycle 4 years ago, they all turned them in. So we'll include all those laptops. It's about just under 200 MacBook Pros, or sorry, MacBook Airs, and about 160 Lenovo Twists. Once we get them back, we are selling them now. What we did do is the staff who was using those computers, we gave them first access to purchase their own computer. After that, then we did offer it to the public. Initially, the plan was to do internal staff after that, and then the public, but we switched that around based on your request. So we did actually go out to the public. What we were not able to do is the payment plans. I discussed it with Mr. Schott, and it sounded like it would be too difficult to coordinate accepting the payments, invoicing, collecting, and essentially turn the district into a debt collector to make sure we receive all the payments on time.
Well, here's my problem. So, because I saw a post on Facebook, there's 8 Mac Airs for sale now. Is that correct?
I think 8 with power supplies that are left. Yes.
So 192 got sold to.
So what you're seeing is actually the second phase of the sale.
All right. How many teachers bought laptops?
I don't have that number handy right now.
Okay, so let's just say 50% of them went to teachers. And we had discussed as a board looking at options to get these into the hands of students and the taxpayers that actually paid for the laptops. When we have, basically less than 10% of teachers living in the district, and we're selling a laptop at a very, very discounted rate to a lot of individuals that aren't even taxpayers. So we've now paid for them to get a discounted computer. I find that troubling. And, I honestly don't even know if it's legal, to be honest, because the motion that we passed in either May or June's to get rid of anything stated that it would be brought to the board and voted on, and that was never done. We discussed it. I thought we were going to. When I left the meeting, I was under the understanding that it was going to come back before the board, and we were going to figure out, can we sell it to them? Should we open it up to the public first? Should we sell it to teachers? I mean, the fact that we sold a lot of these computers to teachers, and the reason they could buy the computers is because we got them a brand new computer this year. So now they have 2 computers, and we still have kids at home that don't have a computer. I just think as an educational institution, we should have looked at giving them back to taxpayers, the people who actually paid for the computers first.
Mr. Brown, were you aware that that motion, and I don't know if you have the exact motion with you or not, but that discussion occurred and that we did take that action?
To sell it to the public with a financing plan?
To sell it to students and
Well, yeah, and that's
public.
why I did change it slightly. Again, the plan was originally to offer it internally to our staff first, and then what's ever left over, give it to students.
I don't think that was it offered to staff first?
Well, no, and that's where I'm getting confused, because it was never board approved to offer to staff. So we've now taken taxpayer dollars to pay for computers, subsidized them, now giving them to people 75% plus off to teachers, the majority of which don't live within the district. And I'm not attacking teachers by any means, because we just agreed through our budget this year to give them brand new computers. So they have a brand new computer that they're using, and now we've sold them, $2,000+ computer for $500. And we have students at home that don't have a laptop, which I'm sure a lot of parents may not be able to afford a $2,000 computer, but sure could afford a $500 computer. So I don't see how we've even legally sold any of these without it coming before the board.
I don't think we can undo it.
I don't think we can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, that's all.
I don't think we can undo it either. But I do think that, you know, you need to pay as close attention to board conversations and board directives, because that was generated quite a bit of money, I believe.
Yes.
20,000 more.
So in the end, if we sell all the equipment we're planning on, and that actually goes beyond just the laptops, it has to do with some old servers
Just-
we're
yeah,
phasing
just
out.
put a
But
number.
it's going to be 150,000. We
That's a
estimate,
lot.
for
I
everything.
just, you know, I just think.
But the laptops are only part of it.
I understand, but I was saying perhaps in the future, touch base with the superintendent, or if you're not certain as to, you know, what the board's thoughts or directions were, and maybe not to alter it. I don't know, I thought I heard you say you altered it on your own.
Well, no, I alter it based on Chad's request. So,
Well, no, you didn't, because, so I've looked up, it was June's meeting, and it
Yeah.
says sale, giveaway, and/or dispose of applicable old equipment, furniture, various other miscellaneous that are no longer serviceable for the district, which first of all, I'm pretty sure those are still serviceable. Then goes on to say, the administration will inform the board of all proposed items to be disposed of prior to the actual disposal taking place. That never happened. I legitimately think it's illegal to sell taxpayer-bought property.
I think we need to affirm it since it's been done, so I
Well, that's fine, but
think we should
we
vote
still
on it.
also need to address the problem that we sold $150,000 worth of taxpayer property without ever approving it at a board meeting.
Why don't we let our solicitors speak to the issue?
Well, I think that everyone has stated a position. I think Section 508 of the school code requires the board to vote on anything that's in excess of $100. So there's no question that it's arguable that there's been a violation of Section 508. I think Ms. Cerrucci is indicating that she would like to get it affirmed so that at least you've cured it as best you can. It still doesn't do away from the fact that the board had not voted on it. But again, I don't know that you can put the toothpaste back in the tube at this point.
George?
Mr. Brown and Paul, you said you just got your head together saying that, you know, almost impossible to collect on the children's desktops, you know, like the $50 a month, whatever. Okay, if you decided on that, but you know what the board's wishes were with the children. I wish you would have came back to us before anything was sold and addressed that problem, and then we would have came up with another remedy for you.
I completely agree, George. I mean, we were voted by the taxpayers to represent. I mean, that's why we have a school board, that's why we have a meeting, that's why it's televised, that's why we've passed transparency things. I mean, obviously this is an asinine example, but if Bill decided to just go sell the junior high property and then say, oh, well, we forgot to bring it in front of the board, so let's just affirm it at the next meeting, I'm pretty sure people would be upset. So, I mean, this is much smaller, but it's still $150,000. That's still a lot of money.
I have a question. That motion was passed, was it not?
What's that?
That you read?
The
Yes,
motion
but it
about the
states that it would be
language
brought
came
back.
from Mr. Schott at the board meeting. And
Okay, but I mean, it was
if
moved
you
and
read
passed.
the last sentence of that motion, and Chad, could you read that? I don't have it in front of me.
The administration will inform the board of all proposed items to be disposed of prior to the actual disposal taking place.
Inform the board, which in our communications via the board agendas, there was communication about the different plans that we would eventually partake in.
It doesn't matter what's in the board packet or what's in any of that. I mean, this is, our attorney just said it's Section 508 of the school code. No motion can override that. No board docket that is not open to the public can override that.
You know, I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the motion? Excuse me.
Yes,
That
it was
language was
voted on.
voted on and approved.
Correct.
Yeah, I think. Listen.
I think we're, go ahead.
Well, I
We've got
think.
two things going on.
Yeah, I think the point is correct, and I think those responsible need to pay more careful attention to those issues and not put the district or the board in a bad position. And I'm going to support the motion to cure it as best we can, to approve it when and if it comes to the board.
That's on the floor now.
Okay.
I think
Well,
most of
wait,
us
I'm
are
not-
in agreement. Oh, there you go.
But, no, but after that motion is, if it is in fact approved, if you have some suggestion as to how to better address this issue, I'm open for it, because I think you're right.
I think we should ask the teachers to turn them back in, give them their $500 back, and open up to the public. I mean, I would be frankly pretty pissed off if I was a parent that could not afford a $2,000 laptop. I don't have a computer at home. The school has these $500 computers available. Now we have 8 left, out of starting with 200 Mac Airs and 160 Lenovo Twists. I mean, I think every taxpayer should be pretty upset right now. And I think we might make the teachers angry, but think about it, they have nothing to be angry about. They received a brand new laptop. That's why they had the opportunity to buy their old laptop. I think we should collect them. I think that's the easiest way to remedy it, and then offer them to the public first. If people from the public don't want to, the taxpayers don't want to, then we open up to teachers.
Well, let me suggest this. If you've already made a motion, or have you?
Somebody.
Yes,
Bill
that was a motion.
What board member?
You
Yes.
and Neil.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor
There's a second.
and a second by Neil. My suggestion is take a roll call vote on that, and then deal separately with alternative solutions.
I agree. Call the question.
We have a roll call, please.
Could you restate
The motion?
the motion, please?
The thing was to
Affirm the sale.
affirm the sale.
Yeah.
Disposal of fixed assets, approval to move forward, is what Bill
Okay.
stated.
Does it specify who to sell them to? The motion.
He did not say that.
We don't have the actual numbers of, but we do know students, parents, teachers have received the equipment, correct?
Yeah, right now, everyone across the board
Yes.
has received something, whether it's students, parents,
Right,
community
but
members.
I'm sorry. The current motion though is to just sell the equipment.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Affirm the sale of
It's
the equipment
The
we already
current
sold.
motion is to
Affirm the,
Retroactive.
basically say
Right.
all those
Yeah.
things were sold.
Yep.
We have a few
We
more.
approved
that
breaking
we
section
need to
508
do
of the
something
school
with.
code.
Right.
Approval to
I
move
just want to
forward.
say one thing. If you affirm the sale, I don't know how you can go back and ask them to pay it back.
Let me add
I
to
was
that.
think-
Oftentimes, people put personal information on a given computer, and if you attempt to get it back from them,
Yeah.
you might be putting the district in a difficult position
Well, they might say
because
no too, and now you're going to litigate it.
it's not that. Even if it comes back and they think it's wiped
Right.
clean, there could be some sensitive information, and we don't want to receive that back.
You know, it's not a particularly good situation, but I still think, and I think you're right, and I thought about that as well. But I also think that whether we affirm it or we don't affirm it, and I think we should, we'd have this,
It's on the floor.
we'd have the same problem going back and asking them to give us, because they would just say, hey, wait a minute, this is a willing buyer, willing seller, whether you affirm it or
Yeah, I
not,
don't
board.
care.
So,
Bad deal.
yeah, but that's not to say that I did ask for alternative ideas, and that's, so again, I'd go to a roll call on this.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenboard.
No.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
No.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
No.
Motion carries.
Can I ask a question?
Well,
Micah, do you recall last year when we sold the computers? How was that handled? Was it the same way?
Last year, the last cycle.
Not this year's computers, when the computers were sold last year, because they also were sold. When Dennis was here? Do you
Yeah,
recall?
that was the last cycle, so that would be
Okay.
4 years
We
ago.
approved a specific motion, which I can dig up if you'd like to.
Mr. Bob Brown, did we sell any furniture or anything like that this year?
Yes, but in that cycle, again, I don't know how it was handled at the administrative level. I know how the laptops were prepped. Again, we're doing something very similar. We're wiping them, make sure there's no information on them, and then they would be turned over to be sold. And I think in that scenario, they came up to the ticket booth and we either received a check or cash.
But I don't think that, I think the issue here is we sold something that was never board approved to be sold.
Apart from, sort of the buck stops with you.
Absolutely.
Apart from that, whose responsibility was it to make sure that the motion that was made and approved was followed?
We interpreted that motion that was voted on and approved as authorization, and then through the communications that we've completed through our board reports indicating how we would proceed with that motion was communication.
I very respectfully disagree, because at the last meeting, Steve and I had dialogue back and forth, and we talked about the possibility of opening to the public, and it was clearly stated that they would come back to the board with options and how we could proceed with that.
There's certainly,
I actually agree with that.
there's a spirit of this thing here, and I think the spirit was contained within the dialogue that you're referencing, and that is we wanted to give, some kids and parents an opportunity, at least we wanted to talk that through. And I'm not looking for you particularly to speak to this. I'm just sort of wondering why you're head of technology, why you weren't aware of this and why you didn't prepare something that, or raise to management that, hey, look, I heard that discussion. The board really wanted us to go to an alternative road. And I'm going to throw one other thing in here. And I can't say this for sure, but there were people that bought 5, 10, more than that.
There was, I want to say 2 or 3 people that would fall in that category.
And how many did they buy?
Hold on.
Wait, please, I'm just, okay, with like 15?
I don't think that many.
Okay, so I think the lesson here is that which should have been brought, and we should have talked a little bit more about the spirit, the intent of what was passed.
So wait, we didn't sell them to the teachers? We sold them to teachers, and a teacher bought like 5 or 10 of them?
No. So how the process worked is, if a teacher was using a specific laptop, we would offer it to them and say, if this is your laptop, you can buy it. Now, we only let them buy 1 at that point.
Okay.
After that, then it immediately went out for public sale. We did a skyward blast. It went to all the parents in the district and said, we have these many computers ready. You can come to the high school and pick them up, pay cash or check. We had a large turnout for that. And then we had to prep some more machines. And now what we're seeing now is actually the second wave of the public sale.
But we had people come and buy 10 or 15 computers.
Yeah, somebody bought 10.
These were people from the public that purchased that many.
They were not employees of the district.
They were not.
Yeah.
There was, I think, maybe one employee who I think actually is a member of the community who purchased a couple, which I believe that was for
I'm just going to say,
program, if I recall.
I'm even more pissed off now then, because we now have people that...
So how many MacBook Airs
They
do
did
we have
have
left?
So I think there
Do we
might be
have
only
any
one
left?
person who. There was only like a very small number of people who even purchased 2. What they purchased multiple of are the more other older equipment, so the iPads or the iMacs.
Do we have any MacBook Airs left?
Yes.
Do we have any Twists left?
Yes.
We have 8 Airs left with power supply.
So the public's had a chance to come by them. Everybody's had a chance to buy these things. And we still have stuff left over.
We still have many Lenovo Twists left. Last I checked, we still had some MacBook Airs left. They just don't have power supplies. Power supplies we got back were mangled, so we don't want to sell them to a community member if they're
Percentage of equipment that went to the public.
I would have to get that. It's a fairly high percentage. I mean, again, it's not 100%. I don't know what side of 50% it falls, but it will probably be around 50, give or take.
So half the computers went to teachers that are making on average $90,000.
We're doing round 2. Round 1, we captured a certain amount.
Yes, and then round 2, we're getting more. And most of the purchases were iPads or iMacs, which were much less than the MacBooks.
I'm not even debating anymore what was sold, what wasn't sold. I mean, we now have 50% of these that went to people without it being board approved, without the public being made aware of it. With us sending one skyward message, we basically sold the remainder. We have 8 left of the 200 that we started with. I really want to know as a board member, what are the consequences? Right, so when we look at this isn't the only issue that's at hand. Right, we have the junior high sporting events, which it's been board approved to collect money for. We have an athletic director over there that hasn't collected money for the past 3 years. Nothing's been done with that. We've had musical events that was brought up by the music ed department chairperson that we should collect money as opposed to cutting one position, which the board was going to do. The board then passed that we were going to collect money at plays and at choir concerts, band concerts, for that money to go back into the music department so we didn't have to cut someone. We did that for 3 concerts, then we stopped collecting. We passed a delinquent tax plan, which we're going to team up with Ira Weiss's office and send a letter home, and anyone who didn't get onto a payment plan, we're going to publish their names. Nothing happened with that. So why the hell do we have a school board if we're going to vote on things, pass things, and then nothing happens? I mean, to me, I think this is the worst out of all of them because we're now selling taxpayer property. And again, I'll go back to the sale of property. Like if we go and sell the junior high property, whoever was involved would be carried out in handcuffs, I would assume. Would you find that accurate, Mr. Dice?
I think you can take it that far if you want to.
So, I'm not suggesting it's that criminal, but this is bad. This is taxpayer dollars. We're now just subsidizing teachers. And again, I'm not attacking teachers at all, but the majority of these teachers are not residents of the district. So they haven't paid their taxes to buy these products. They make very good money, right? In an article last year, the average teacher I gave was making $90,000. We have some schools as high as 42% on free and reduced lunch, and we didn't offer them computers. I mean, I find this very troubling.
I don't know how to correct it, Jeff.
Yeah,
But I would say one thing, Micah, that you said that I would disagree with, and it's a mentality that I think we need to change moving forward, is that you said that all the teachers were offered a chance to purchase their laptop. And I said this in the last discussion, the laptop does not belong to the teacher, it belongs to the taxpayer, because the taxpayer is the one who pays for every piece of equipment that our teachers use. So moving forward, I don't want to hear anybody personally say, we let the teachers buy their laptop, because the laptop belongs to the district, which belongs to the taxpayers of Monroeville and Pitcairn.
My sense of things is that, there's a lesson this board should be taking from this conversation and from this single event. And that is we need to manage the sale of products that we have here that we no longer want with a little bit more, with more discipline and more clarity, because this was clearly not.
Well, I would like to know what the next process is.
It was clearly not done at a minimum in the spirit of the discussion that we had. Now, the other issues that you've raised relative to not collecting at concerts and things are separate and should be discussed, I think, at some point in time, if you'd like to bring them up, okay?
I think that we need to not sell anymore until we know exactly who they're going to, what we're going to do about it, and then we'll sell them. Like we should take an inventory right now, figure out where we're at, what we've done, and then come back to the board and say, this is the entire situation. Because I'm not really sure exactly if we know the exact situation. How many?
But it ain't doing
Here, there, whatever, good chords, bad chords. I'd like to just know everything about what's around.
Micah, there was a survey.
sold.
There was a survey
And then
that
let's
you sent
figure out
out
what's the next move.
with what was available, correct?
Yes.
And everything, this was all sent out to the public.
Yes.
And everything came back with what was available, and everything is accounted for through the public.
Yes.
But that doesn't negate the fact that this board never approved selling taxpayer property. I mean, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It's criminal. We can't just sell taxpayer property without board approval. That's why we have a board here. I mean, that doesn't sound good. I understand that that's not the message I want to be depicting for the Gateway School District, but well, I think
we already did.
There needs to be disciplinary action. I want to know, that's what I'm asking, is what is the next step? I mean, there's multitude of different occurrences where nothing has happened. So with that, I make a motion that we go to executive session for personnel.
Absolutely. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Executive session.
Bonnie, don't let Matza make a long-distance phone call on my phone.
Can I do that, though?
You can, it's okay.
I'm doing that.
I make a motion to come back from executive session. Is everybody back there? Give us a nod. If everybody just does this with their head, it'll look like it's moving. Oh, I'm almost sick. Those things like.
No.
You want mine?
What are you doing? Put his lips all over your water.
I didn't.
Here, pass that one down. You want to make a motion to come back in? Is everybody here?
Can I make a motion to excuse Steve? I'm gonna make a motion to excuse Steve.
He's done with this thing. He's out of control.
Are we ready?
That was no power, Scotty.
It's not on the computer.
Michael.
Hey,
Daniel.
Daniel, we're ready.
You want me to do it? 3, 2, I don't want to count backwards. What do you say? He's coming.
So we're not on television right now?
Who knows? Just act like
Oh.
you are.
You might be.
I was doing the Star Trek thing.
You might be.
Yeah, you're right. That's the end of my re-election campaign.
You don't have to worry about it.
Can you finish?
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, you didn't have it right last time you predicted my election.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
We're sleeping down there, Dan.
I need a motion to come out of.
I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Motion to second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Short, I think we voted on the motion.
I believe we did, yes.
Did.
That is correct.
Passed 6-3.
Do you have anything else in your report, sir?
Nothing further. We can go to the assistant superintendents.
Dr. Chaky? Dr. Rossi?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Schott?
Nothing further, thank you.
John?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Ritter?
Nothing.
Ms. Byrne?
Nothing further.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Nothing at this time.
Sarucci?
I gotta come up with something.
You don't.
No, I really don't have anything.
Do you have something?
No, I don't.
Mr. Report?
All right, I'll keep it short. The list of things that I've mentioned, I just want us to look into.
Yes.
Again, adopting them if the board's approved it. We do just need to make sure that it's being followed through. With that, Steve, thank you for asking for a moment of silence. So I think everyone on the board, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone that had to go through what they went through out in Las Vegas. That's all I want to say.
Mr. Nola?
Yes, first thing is, it's a new school year, new artwork. So if you can look at that real quick, give a nice, I invite everybody that's in the audience and the members here, come over and look. This is very, these are very, like, unique
Abstract.
and abstract. They're really nice. They're really good. So that's first thing. And then second thing is, I just want to say thanks to everyone for all their efforts, and school year's going well, and all the administrators, all the work and energy you put in. You guys got a tough job, and stay at it, and we're doing good. Keep the ship afloat.
Thank you.
That's it.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Nothing this evening.
Ms. Warning?
I just want to say it was a great turnout for the open house at the high school. The coffee shop went over very well. Students were very excited. Schools look great being open. Thank you, Mr. Brown, your staff and everything. Teachers, welcome back again, and thank you for all your hard work adjusting to get all these kids into shape. And we have several tough games coming up for football. They look really good. We had a tough loss on Friday, but we're ready to bounce back. We will be at Plum this Friday. Following Friday is homecoming, so everybody get ready, and
The bonfire is on Thursday night.
on the 12th.
Yes.
On the 12th. Yes, we'll be Thursday night. We'll be out in the student parking lot, down below, I should say, at Mosside Middle parking lot.
The teachers' volleyball game beforehand.
Volleyball
Yes.
game on Thursday with the
Mr.
teachers.
Santilli and,
Support the hurricane.
Yes.
And with that, since everybody's chiming in, that's all I have.
Thank you.
A bunch of us went to that Penn Trafford football game where they hosted, the folks in the community. Didn't they do a really nice job of hosting the EMS folks, the active duty military, the veterans, the police force? They fed, go ahead.
yes, I sent an email to the board and the superintendent and the athletic director at Penn Trafford for thanking them for the hospitality.
What a wonderful
Yes.
event.
Mhm.
We'll do that next year, okay, John? You're in charge.
I have one more thing, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So I know we have the transparency thing, so this would require a super majority to pass, but I would like to make a motion that we send a letter to Chuck Martoni and all members of Allegheny County Council, just thanking them for their consideration and hoping they vote the affirmative to donate the tasers to the school district.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments?
When's their vote?
October 10th, they vote.
Marty, can we have a roll call?
Acclamation.
Well, go ahead, you're there.
We're there, Bonnie, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Trying to take your job away from you.
Yeah, please.
There was something to do.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Stubenbord.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne.
Aye.
Mrs. Sarucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So someone will take care of that letter.
Yes, I will.
Awesome, thank you.
Are you sure?
Any other questions or comments?
Would you be looking for a
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?